What is happening? Welcome back to the Pleasure Points podcast. I'm back. Let's do this thing. All right, so it's been a little while. Welcome to my little temporary home here in Colorado Springs. I can't remember the last time I did a live podcast, but a lot has happened in the last few months, certainly. Personally, Jen and I, we got a Sprinter van, a cargo van that we are now converting into an adventure / bug out / emergency getaway vehicle. Seems like a good time to do that. We've been talking about doing this for a couple of years, and everything just sort of lined up a few months ago is the good time to do that. So we went ahead and we're in the middle of doing the build out and trying to figure all that out. And yeah, it's like super intense. I'm like totally outside of my zone of genius, my area of expertise. I grew up in a household where like there was never any manual labor being done as far as like hanging things. Nothing was being built or constructed. And so I'm really just sort of flying by whatever I can learn from YouTube. But it's been a fun project, and already I've learned quite a bit. This is like my Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance experience as I'm diving into all these things. If you've been following me on Instagram at James E. Rohr, I have been posting some updates as we have them. I cut out a couple of windows in the van, and we've got a lot of other things that we'll be doing here, hopefully in the next couple months, making some big progress on it so that we can really kind of get away. And, you know, less than about sort of getting away. It's also been an important way for me to be able to see Wyatt and to travel to see him safely and, you know, minimizing exposure to other people, to be able to pick him up. We're going to be picking him up in a couple weeks and bringing him back out here for Colorado for a couple weeks. Since he's doing homeschooling, we've got some flexibility there, which is awesome. So to be able to do that and get around without having to be on airplanes and all that is nice. Though I certainly did, you know, some flying starting back in June because I wanted to get up there and see him, and his family was, you know, cool with me coming and doing that whole thing with the planes and stuff. But you know, it's really unprecedented times. And I think about, you know, I've been largely silent here with the podcast because I've just been doing a lot of processing, you know, like all of us out there. I found myself with a little more time on my hands. I'm not, you know, grinding out in the office like I used to. And so I've been, you know, on social media and watching the news and, you know, trying to just sort of take it all in. And, you know, I've been trying to be cautious with coming to judgment and all that. And just, you know, my better days, I'm just an interested observer. And, you know, I didn't know, like some days I'd think about recording a podcast and I'd just be all fired up about something and found myself, you know, falling into the same trap that I think that we all need to be careful of, which is of division, which is of saying us and them. And, you know, that's just going to keep us really divided. And, you know, it was, I don't know, man, it's having a little platform here. And I talk to Jen about it all the time. And there have been so many times where I pull out the recording stuff and the microphone and I'm just, okay, what do I have to say? And I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure that if I was going to say something that I was going to be able to stand by it. And, you know, I know that we're all evolving human beings and our opinions and thoughts can change on things. And that's what I absolutely love. And at the same time, there's a responsibility. I think that if you have a platform and you're putting stuff out there to make sure that it's vetted and, you know, that we can try to get the facts as much as we can. And it was really when a couple days ago, Jen and I watched The Social Dilemma, the documentary on Netflix about social media, that everything became much more clear to me. Because I talked about this before, but, you know, when Trump was elected in 2016, I was definitely not that involved in politics at all. I was just living my life, really grinding out the time in the office and everything. But when Trump was elected, And the Facebook echo chamber that I was in, surrounded with, like pretty much all liberals and Democrats, I was shocked. And I was like, how did Trump win? Like, all I'm hearing is this Democratic stuff. Everyone was so confident Hillary's going to win, all the things. And I was like, how did he win? And that's when I realized, like, oh, I need to start, like, listening to the other side. I need to be more proactive in bringing a diversity of opinions and voices into my newsfeed and into social media and all that. And so that began a process that really, accelerated at the start of COVID. Obviously, I had more time and the stakes were much more heightened, and I was trying to figure out, like, what in the hell is happening. And it's just sort of my nature. I have a general distrust of the government, a general distrust of certainly public health policies and public health agencies. I believe that the people that work for these things are good-hearted, but oftentimes, a good-hearted person can still, come up with a policy or something that is very, very dangerous. And the thing that I care absolutely the most about is sovereignty and freedom, especially when it comes to medical freedom and freedom of choice. And so I started paying a lot more attention during COVID, right? Because we were being told how we should be living, and it was under the guise of health suggestions. And, we found ourselves at the precipice of, very interesting times of personal sovereignty, personal freedom versus the collective. And this is the kind of thing that I've seen talked about oftentimes when it comes to vaccines and the sort of the general consensus that you just need to vaccinate no matter what, because, a government agency says so. And this is just what you need to do. And like, for sure, you absolutely have to pay attention. I believe you have to pay attention to the inserts. You got to pay attention to what the side effects are. And that as long as there is something that has a side effect, that it is absolutely within your rights and your freedoms to be told what those side effects can be and to give you the ability to make an empowered decision. And anyone that says otherwise, I will happily debate and I will die on that hill defending the right for medical freedom and medical choice. Because we know, as we're going to just continue to find out over the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, that medicine is bio-individual, that what might work for 99 people may not work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, then that's a problem. And I believe that, you shouldn't be forced into anything that might have, side effects that can hurt you. I mean, look, there's a fucking vaccine injury court that has paid out billions of dollars to vaccine injuries. So we can't just say, close your eyes and, for the most part, you'll be fine, because that's just not, I don't want to live in that world. I believe that there should be absolutely full disclosure. And I believe that you should be given the opportunity to make a decision that you want. And this is where, like, as I've paid attention to this, and like, this isn't about, whether you choose to vaccinate or not. This is about, understanding medical freedom and medical choice. And so I've seen that in the world of vaccines. And then, it became the stuff about, to wear a mask or not wear a mask, to stay in or not, to close your business or to open your business. And, I think that there will be some sort of impending choice to be made, whether there's a mandatory vaccine that comes out for this COVID thing or not, but it's like I saw the division in that conversation originally, years ago, right, of vax and anti-vax. And, I would just assume that we're all pro-health. We're all pro-healthy children. And that's where, the focus needs to be and the conversation needs to be on what is it that we're aiming to. We're aiming towards, having healthy children and a healthy community. Now, there can be some disagreements about what needs to happen in order to get there. But this line of division of someone is pro-vax or anti-mask, or pro-vax and anti-vax, and now we're seeing it with someone's pro-mask and anti-mask. And it's like there just seems to be more and more division that's happening out there. And that is absolutely terrifying to me. And that is going to be what is the ruin of our culture, of our society. But that kind of division is also what ruins our energy. It creates this stagnation and this like pressure, this buildup, this constraint of chi that happens. Because if you're looking outside of you in terms of saying, I like this, I don't like this person's right, this person's wrong, you start honing the blade of criticism. You start honing that blade of judgment. And when that happens, you, of course, are going to be using it back on yourself, whether it's to prop yourself up and to celebrate how righteous you are and how amazing you are and like all the virtue signaling bullshit that can happen, that our egos, these games that our egos play with us, right? Or you're going to turn it around on yourself also and then, be able to point out all the things that you don't like about yourself, all the ways that you're wrong, all the ways that you're not enough, all the ways you don't measure up. Right? The Dalai Lama, you guys have heard me say it, the Dalai Lama said, someone asked about nuclear disarmament, and he said, first, we have to disarm ourselves internally. Because when you let go of that internal hate, then you're not going to be able to extend that out into the world. And so, unfortunately, this division is going to be obviously incredibly disruptive. We're already seeing it and damaging to our communities. And at the same time, like it's going to also be reflected back onto us in a very, very dangerous and much more perhaps subtle way. But the impact there is going to be profound, because if we aren't whole and if we're not aiming towards being healthy and kind, then of course we're going to be bringing that same energy of criticism and judgment to our families and to our communities as a whole. And this, to me, is terrifying. But all of this came into full clarity for me when we watched that movie, The Social Dilemma, because there they talked about all sorts of things with social media, but the thing that really got my attention and that I understood was that, they're going to be giving you suggestions, and they're going to highlight things in the feed that get you engaged. And it's very clearly and obvious that, what engages us oftentimes can be hatred. What can engage us is things that we think that we're doing right and how another side is wrong. It taps into this core tribalism that we might have, not to mention all of the dopamine that comes from, getting likes and agreeing and, getting messages and the thumbs up and, speaking to your base, right? And so it starts moving us in a direction where it just keeps redirecting us into the things that we like, the media that we want to be consuming because we agree with it. And so it can diminish the voices that are the voices of dissent, the contrary opinions. And, as I've gotten into diversifying my social media, right, I would see all sorts of things. And as I started spending more time on like things like Tucker Carlson or some of these, so-called conspiracy sites, right, just to get the other opinion, I started seeing more and more and more of that. And I found myself falling into, when I would hear like Democrats say something, I immediately had the rebuttals because that's what my Instagram had been showing me. And, I was like, whoa, isn't this interesting, right? And you'd have both sides who were just like, I'm right, you're wrong. Like we see both sides now are calling the other sides Nazis. Like, how is that possible? Like, what is happening where, the Republicans are calling the Democrats Nazis, the Democrats are calling Trump, Hitler and a Nazi. And it's like, okay, either we don't have a good grasp on history, which is very possible, or it's like we're just like highlighting the differences, and that is the thing that is most concerning to me. And so, as I do my best to take a side, I mean, if I had to choose a party to align with, I would most likely be a libertarian. Right, because it's just like I like I said, I have a massive distrust in big government, and so I think minimizing government is the way to go. But I also recognize the need for social services, and like it's so sticky and complicated. And I don't mean to make this a political podcast, but the focus here is on coming back to like, what is it about our health? What is it about that we need to be safeguarding against in our own body, in our own mind, in our own energy, in our own, emotional and spiritual garden here? And then how does that translate as we look out into the world? And when I saw how these experts in Silicon Valley were explaining how social media can cater to one-sidedness or keeping, the two sides separate. And it really is laying the foundation for, at the very least, massive division and at worst, civil war, because I see these two sides going at it. And there's just like a total lack, in my opinion, of what I see, like a lack of tolerance and a lack of kindness and compassion and a lack of coming together. But perhaps that is out there, but it's not making our news feeds because there's nothing stimulating about people getting along. There's nothing stimulating about somebody leading with an act of kindness. What's stimulating, what gets the hits, what gets the likes, what gets the reinforcement is the division. My side is right, your side is wrong. How could you possibly think that? You're terrible. No, you're terrible. And round it goes. And it's like, my advice to you is that if you are deeply entrenched in one side, start expanding your horizons to see the other side. And you're going to have to let go of the bullshit that you've been fed, regardless of what side that you're on, about how the other side is so terrible. You're going to have to let go of that for a while and allow yourself to be kind of like indoctrinated by the other side as an experiment, to see what that other side is like and to notice how that is with your energy. And it's a great practice of listening, of being attuned to your own energy and listening, paying attention to the impact that it has, but also refraining from listening in a way of like right and wrong and good and bad. And this is a skill set that I'm not 100% with it by any stretch, but it's like I've been cultivating over the last 20 years of mindfulness and meditation and practice. And I try my best to do that in all of my relationships, where when someone's listening, or when someone's talking and I'm just listening, I'm not listening like I like this, I don't like this, this is right, this is wrong, but in my best moments, I'm just listening. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, right? That's their experience. And what that does is it makes it much easier to bridge into kindness. It makes it much easier to bridge into an understanding. But if you are so firmly entrenched in a stance and you think that you are absolutely right and the other side is completely wrong, I would encourage you to listen to the other side for a bit. Do that experiment. Listen to, the opposite news channel for 2 weeks or whatever, and just see if what eventually they say or what eventually you allow yourself to hear makes sense. If you can find some logic and reasoning behind why people believe what they believe. Just an experiment. You don't have to jump to the other side. I don't, whatever. But I do believe that we have to come to some form of kindness and compassion. And I saw this interesting post that said, tell me all the reasons you're going to vote for Biden without using the word Trump. And I like that. I thought that was great, because it's like, it's one thing to be reactive, and there's people who are going to cast their vote because they're just reacting to Trump and all that Trump seems to be or represents to people. And it's another to vote because of the merits and the foundation of what, the Biden ticket is offering. And most of the time, as I've been exploring these things and trying to listen, what I'm hearing is just a reaction to Trump. And if that's how you want to vote, like, that's fine, whatever. I don't care. For me, again, the thing that I will, that is what I pay attention to when it comes to casting my vote or where I put my energy and why I started doing this podcast in the first place is about freedom, and especially medical freedom, right? Those first few episodes that I talked about, my experience being sick, my experience being told by a physician that I was sick, my experience in the medical establishment being told that I'm going to have to take pharmaceuticals, that, a doctor wouldn't even be able to explore like a non-pharmaceutical option because they've got to be protected against malpractice and they're worried about their own issues and all the things. And that whole experience in the system. And then, I had all sorts of issues and concerns and fears about getting health insurance, right? So when I was younger, it was like I tried to stay on my dad's health insurance plan as long as I could. And then, certainly from what I was seeing, right, it was the Democrats that were picking up the charge for me to be able to get health care, to get coverage, even if I had a pre-existing condition. And, I remember all the stress that I had, when I used to have that diagnosis of Crohn's or colitis and to be super sick, and that these are the things that are weighing on you. And so that were weighing on me. But it really comes down to that choice of medical freedom, because I became an acupuncturist. I'm big in the essential oils. I appreciate all of the natural and healing alternatives that are out there. And it's not a far stretch for me to imagine that if we start giving up our medical freedom, that the ability to choose natural and alternative medicines can also be taken away. The Chinese back in the day, when the communist revolution was happening, they got rid of their acupuncturists, as an attempt to institutionalize and be more westernized with their medicine. Eventually, they had to bring the acupuncturists back because Western medicine is expensive, and they needed, viable healthcare alternatives to reach the people across that, the huge nation of China. And so, but I can play out in my head some scenarios where, the ability to get access to these natural healing options can be taken away. I mean, shit, it already happened with COVID, right? I heard stories about my ex-mother-in-law went to try to get some colloidal silver from Whole Foods. She's been taking it for years I think to boost her immune system. I don't exactly know why she takes it. But Whole Foods removed it because, people were making claims online that colloidal silver could cure COVID. And so Whole Foods just got rid of it. They stopped carrying it, which is like super fucked up in my opinion. Like these, it's like she had a product that she was taking, and all of a sudden, because something is being politicized, or some people are saying that it can cure COVID and making health claims that you just can't obviously make, they decided to take it away. Like, make a disclaimer, make it obvious, right? Put signs that say this doesn't cure COVID, like whatever the fuck. But like to just remove it and to make that inaccessible as what she was using to help take care of herself. Like, to me, this is the thing to watch out for. And this kind of, I might go so far as to call it medical tyranny, is something to be, that I'm obviously very, very passionate about and believe should be fought against at all levels and all costs. Doesn't mean we don't listen to doctors. Doesn't mean that we don't listen to health officials, but we can listen to them, and we can, still have the power of choice. I mean, I saw a video the other day. This guy's trying to take his, I think it was a 5-year-old to Prospect Park. They had a medical exemption why the kid couldn't wear a mask. I don't know the health issues, right? And they were being told that they couldn't go in there. All the adults were both masked, but the kid wasn't. And, and to me, it's like, I don't know. It's complicated for sure, but it is very concerning to me when we see sort of rights being taken away because of medical freedoms, medical choices, right? And especially when like the research may not be clear, or what do we do with the people who have pre-existing conditions like that and they can't wear a mask? Do we just say that they can't go out? And if that's the case, why didn't we do that from the beginning of COVID, where it's like, if you're immune compromised, you can't go out. You've got to stay in. The rest of us can still live our lives. Think about all of the businesses that might still be open. I mean, what about the costs that are no longer becoming so hidden of loneliness, of anxiety, of depression, of job loss, of all the things? Like, I'm terrified about the total overall cost of that, and the movement that is happening when it comes to public policy, when it comes to health mandates. But like, all of that, right? At the core of all of it seems to be that there's a lack of kindness and compassion that is missing in the conversation. And look, like, we don't know, like, the whole thing about like COVID and how is it spread and how does it interact and like what are the symptoms and what does it look like? How long does it stay in the body? Who's really at high risk? Like, what is the proper treatment for? Like we're still figuring all of these things out. And I appreciate the cautiousness and everybody like being mindful, being a respectful citizen and all that stuff. But when it comes to like pointing fingers and casting blame and being angry and judgmental, like, to me, this is a problem. This is a problem. It's creating more divide, more division, more divisiveness, where now all of a sudden it comes, if someone's not wearing a mask, they seem to be being told that they're like pro-Trump. Now they're being grouped in. They're probably racist, right? They probably don't care about anybody else's health. They're selfish. They want to kill grandma. Like, there's all of these things, right? It's like, holy shit, right? This person might have like emphysema or asthma or whatever, and they're just trying to like get to the grocery store and they can't wear a mask. But people are like freaking out and they're calling them all these names. And it's like, all of a sudden there's like this tribalism is so intense and everybody's like grouped together. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, holy cow, like somebody might not wear a mask for whatever reason. And, they might love Biden and they might be, marching at BLM and like, whatever, whatever. We just don't know. And that's like, this is the thing to come back to. It's like, we don't know. Like, I don't know all the intricacies that go on in your life. You don't know all the intricacies that go on in my life. We don't know. And so like the moment that we start like picking sides and like aggressively defending the side, and we lose any sort of sense of kindness and compassion, and we lose that sense of humanity, we've lost. And, not to be like all doom and gloom here, but like when I look ahead at the election, I don't see any way, regardless of who wins, I don't see any way that this is like resolved peacefully if this same intense like division and that energy is still there. Because like if Trump wins, it can stimulate, trigger a whole cascade of things. If Biden wins, it's going to trigger a whole cascade of things. And so much of it seems to come back to the division of social media and what's happening into the news sources these days, right? It's like the news is no longer representing unbiased news. They're speaking to their bases, right? So CNN, New York Times, MSNBC, CBS, Fox News, Breitbart, like they're all speaking to their bases. And there's a problem with that is that all, you're not bringing objective news necessarily, right? You're just speaking to your base to get more clicks, get more revenue and whatever. And so until something else is figured out, like I believe that it's like the best thing that we can do is to try to diversify the energy streams that are coming. And if you are watching the news, if you are watching social media, like get out of your comfort zone, follow other people intentionally just to see what they're saying, to try to understand what it is, where they're coming from, why they believe what they believe. And if we can get down to like the fact that most of us are like very good, kind, well-meaning human beings, right? And we can remember that, then we have the potential to bring, cohesiveness back, not only to our community, but also to ourselves, right? And to our own energy field. Because I've been very aware in this time, like I'm feeling my energy getting split, feeling myself being anxious or riled up or, fired up. I get really passionate about some things sometimes. And, like we're all sort of, I think, operating, unless you're like already doing this like multiple news outlet thing, we're all operating under like very specific brainwashing criteria. The brainwashing criteria that is designed to get you to keep engaging with similar news, media, and information. So without being willing to expand out of your comfort zone and understand why other people might be believing other things, I just think that it's going to be very, very difficult for us to reconcile, to find reconciliation in a peaceful and humane way. And I imagine that if you're listening to this and you're on a side, both of you are thinking like, well, the only humane solution is my way. I know my sides believe because we're right. And because we clearly are looking out for the best interests of other people. It's like that woman, that CIA operative. I saw this thing a while ago, and she said, one of the things that I've learned about interrogating terrorists and quote unquote bad people is that none of them think that they're bad, right? They all think that they're doing the right thing. And so if we can look at it and say, okay, the Democrats think that they're doing the right thing, the people that are arguing to defund the police, they think that they're doing the right thing, and the people who are saying like, my freedom is my freedom. I get my guns if I want. Like we need to increase the police force, right? They think that is the right thing. And so both people think that what they're doing is what is best for overall humanity. And that message just isn't being taught, at least not when I'm scrolling through even both sides. That's not what I'm hearing, right? Everything just has become so politicized. And unfortunately, just like with the vaccine, anti-vax thing, right? It becomes like, how compliant are you? Like, how willing are you to protect the herd, right? But now all of a sudden, like, that whole thing about herd immunity is like up in the air when it comes to COVID, because maybe the antibodies don't last so long. It's like everything is getting really muddled. But like what's missing in all of that is like, we want healthy children. We want a healthy community. We want everybody to be, most of us want people to be healthy. We want healthy systems. We want healthy families. We want healthy communities. And when we can make that the focus, and when we can like keep that focus on the dialogue, and that you find yourself speaking more kind words, speaking more positive things. It's just like the researchers on relationships who, these guys, they looked at couples and they said, well, we can predict like, who's going to make it and who's not, right? And what they were looking for, the main factor they looked for is how many compliments to criticisms were there in the communication. And I think it was like, the ideal ratio was like 10-1. So 10 compliments to 1 criticism, and the relationship would be thriving and all the good things, right? And it's the same thing. Like, are we hearing 10 times about how we love healthy communities, we love healthy Black families, we love healthy Asian families, we love healthy Caucasian families, we love strong communities, we're so focused on creating all of these, the kindness and the unity and the humanity, right? Instead, it just becomes like finger pointing, and it's all of this division that's designed to get us all worked up, to keep us engaging in the social media, to keep us watching YouTube, to keep us back on Facebook or Instagram, to keep you on your Fox News channel, or to have, CNN streaming all day long. And it's just there to keep us fired up. We're being manipulated. And if we aren't aware of how we're being manipulated, we're fucked. Pardon my language. And the same thing happens everywhere. Like, it's happening on every sort of level, it's economic, your health, workforce, like all of the things. So, I'm back here on the podcast. If you're listening, you made it this far, like, thank you. I've missed you guys. I'm so happy to be back here. But, just to come back and like say 10 nice things to yourself, be kind with yourself. And as you are kind with yourself, you're just going to do the right thing. Most people are out there doing the right thing. Are there bad cops? Are there, bad protesters? Are there, I don't even like that word bad, but are there people that are out there looking to hurt others and to cause harm and to cause destruction? Like, for sure. But I just don't believe that that's the majority of us. The majority of us are, if you were, locked in an elevator together, or if your community was like locked in together, like, there would be a lot of unity that comes together. People will help each other. And if all you're doing is, if you're not meditating on that, if you're not coming back to compassion within yourself, if you're not stoking the flame of your own joy and your own happiness, like, independent of any sort of news and media and government policies of what are not happening, if you're not nurturing your own flame of kindness and you're not extending that out, but you're only bolstering yourself up because you think that you're right and everybody else is wrong, if your sense of identity is completely dependent upon the identification of others versus yourself, then we're missing the point. We're just missing it. And so we have to come back to ourselves. We've got to come back to our hearts and try to, detox from social media, detox from your news outlets for a minute. And just think about yourself, following the inhale and the exhale, see if you can listen to your heartbeat. If you have a stethoscope, put it over your own heart. Listen to your heartbeat. If you've got someone else near you, put the stethoscope on them too, if they'll let you, right? And listen to their heartbeat. I remember the first time I ever listened to a heartbeat through a stethoscope. I was in acupuncture school, and it was a classmate's heart, and it struck me. It was a moment of just wonder at the power of humanity, and I know people have it when they're having kids and they see the kid's heartbeat on the ultrasound and stuff, which is amazing, or you can hear it through the, whatever it's called, like the audio part of it. But find an adult, find someone even that you can have disagreements with. And if you can't actually listen to their heartbeat, right, that might be a little weird. Just know that they have a heartbeat, know that they have a mother and that they had a father that brought them into this world. That whatever journey the soul went through to get here, right, your soul had the same experience. And that, we're all here together, and to come back into that humanity. And so if you're not tapping into that stuff, if you're only identifying yourself in terms of who you are and what others are not, what you have and what others don't, then I think that you're missing a ginormous spiritual opportunity. And that has to be rectified. And unfortunately, the way that the media and these devices and all this stuff works now is it just keeps us engaged. And by us, I mean me, right? It kept me hooked in. And I was just watching it all the time. And it would be this unconscious reflex where I'd pick up my phone and just start scrolling again. I'd get out of Instagram and I'd open it up again. I just was out of there, and I'd be opening up again, unconsciously, oh my God, what the hell is happening here? And maybe maybe your vice is YouTube, or maybe it's your email. Like, I don't know. We're all becoming indoctrinated here. And so to break the confines of that and believe what you want to believe, choose the hills that you're going to, those battles that you want to fight and that you want to care about. But, the caution is to watch out when we start pointing fingers and saying that somebody else is wrong, because it's going to already create more division within your families. The family gatherings, the dinner table can become very, very contentious. I've certainly experienced that already as well. And, we're missing out from the fact that, chances are, even if we disagree on some things, that person sitting across from you is probably a good person. And that if you really need something, they would probably help you. And if you were stranded together, like, you would probably figure out a way to survive and to help each other. If someone's house is on fire, you would be there to lend a hand. And that kind of connection can be hard to find. It's not making headlines, And so what we see is just more seeds of division. And what I want you to be aware of is the impact that division has when you're watching on the news and you're thinking about politics or the election or whatever, what that is also doing to your own internal energy field, right? So if you're single and you're trying to date, right, you might automatically be just finding ways and reasons that somebody else is wrong and you're right, and why it wouldn't work, and missing all of the other good things about that person because, you're just so hung up on this one or two things. And more importantly, when it comes to your self-talk, what is that doing for your self-talk, right? I found myself like looking for more reasons to bolster up being right, bolster up why other people are wrong and how things are so dangerous and all of that, instead of just coming back to like, no, it's a good person there. It's a good person. We disagree, right? That might not be like where I would choose to cast my vote or how I would choose to act or behave or the things that I choose to believe in. But ultimately they're good people. And can we have a civil disagreement? And unfortunately, even when you look at the debates, even the Democratic debates, right, there was nothing very civil about it. And that's just how it is, right? And certainly Trump, is lacking. He tends to lack a degree of civility as well. And so, it's important. We have to nurture that, right? We have to lead that on a grassroots effort here. And it starts internally. It starts with yourself. And so if you're looking for an assignment, right, try to notice how many times you say, this is good and this is bad, or this is right and this is wrong, right? Or I'm right and they're wrong. Notice how often that comes up when you're watching the news, right? And your beliefs about what's happening in current events, but also what's happening internally. And as you're interacting with people, right? How often you might say that, and give yourself permission to start calling bullshit on that and to say, you know what? Like, there's more to my life and my energy field than being right and being wrong. And what I'm going to instead really focus on coming back to is being a compassionate observer, being a compassionate, even a participant, not to be just an observer, a participant, but that the tip of your sword is kindness, and that you lead with compassion. So there you guys have it. I'm so happy to be back with you. Hopefully you enjoy this. Hit me up on the gram. I deleted it for like 24 hours, and then I wanted to post some stuff about the van. So I re-downloaded it. So you can find me there. You can also email the show, pleasurepointspodcast@gmail.com. And thank you so much. And I'll check in with you next time.